All right. Well, welcome back to another exciting episode of Four Dads Podcast. The last episode we had was talking about the Masters. What a great win for John Rahm. I was a bit disappointed to kind of see Kepka,
Falter.
let it fall. I mean, I know a lot of people were happy about it because he's a live guy, but
Right, right.
the thing about the Masters and I think a lot of these majors is these are the best players in the world. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter where you come from, who you are, what you represent. It's all about golf at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
I would be lying if I said a part of me wasn't pulling for him to win because
Of course.
he's just a majors
Machine. Yeah.
dominator. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The guy just comes in and like in full swing. If you see him on the leaderboard, you should be a little scared because
Yeah.
he comes in aggressive.
He loves rising to the occasion. I
He
think he had a quote
lives
where he was
for
like,
it.
he
Yeah,
lives for it. But
yeah,
I think he had a quote where he was like, I love playing in majors, because like half the field, he's like it's easier to win majors, and people are like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, half the field is too nervous, they're not able to handle the pressure,
yeah.
then you have another quarter that has like uh that there are a few holes that throw him off or something, but he's like, I just love the pressure, I love the energy, I love the fans. He feeds off of that. I think he struggled the most in his career in 2020 when there weren't
Yeah.
any fans, and he just said, I'm not really into it, like because there's no adrenaline pumping, like you have at the Waste Management Open. And you definitely saw it in his play that he just didn't even really, I don't like, his score showed it. You couldn't really see it on his face, but like he definitely was not playing to what his ability was pre-pandemic when he won
Yeah.
all of those majors.
Well, I will say since we're on it right now, like it seemed like a few of his shots, like he kind of dialed it back. Like he was trying just to be a little bit more conservative on certain
Mm-hmm.
shots and
Yeah.
trying to minimize like the movement and just trying to place it, being that like he had the lead and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
he just kind of looked like he was playing for pars.
Yeah.
And I mean that may be a bit disrespectful, being that it's Brooks Koepka, but you could just see it in the way that he was playing. It didn't seem like he had like that tiger mentality where he wants to
Yeah.
step on your throat and like
Mm-hmm.
not let you breathe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also Rom played it conservative. I mean, Rom played it conservative and he scored when he had the opportunities, which is like
Yeah.
that's ultimately what it was. But really, really great Masters. I loved
Yeah.
every minute of it, which I think everyone does. It should be a
Mm-hmm.
national holiday.
Right?
So
4-day holiday, man. Of course. I mean,
literally,
what do you think of, I know we probably mentioned it a little bit on our previous podcast, but the pace of play that, like especially with Patrick Cantlay. I mean, as soon as the Masters ended and that first tournament, which was the RBC Heritage, came up, it was always the first one right after the Masters. And the amount of videos and clips that came out with him as soon as he addresses the ball, not just like him, like his whole pre-shot routine. As soon as he addresses the ball, they had like all these memes that popped up where he was like, Happy Gilmore took his shot, to win the gold jacket or whatever,
yeah.
quicker than Patrick Cantlay. And the dude is standing there on the tee waiting to take a drive and literally is like that one guy that you get teed up, you get paired with randomly that does that, but like shanks it. And you're just like,
Yeah.
why are you doing that? And some of the, like, a lot of people are wanting shot clock, which I think is kind of ridiculous, but there should be a different way of a way to speed it up. I guess Matt Fitzpatrick, what he does is he prepares all of his shot, everything ready to go. So by the time his person that he's waiting for takes a shot, he's already about to take his shot.
Yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like that's probably the best way to go about it because you're never really right next to the person. So you have
No,
time.
exactly. I think
But
I agree with that 110%. I mean, half of these guys are not hitting like in a triangle of
mhm,
dispersion where it's like, hey, my
mhm.
ball's right on top of yours, so I have to wait.
Yeah.
It's like you see these guys walk ahead, you see them get out of the way of the player. And being that you're a professional at that level, like you have tunnel vision. You don't see, I mean, if you're hitting
Right.
inches
Right.
away from people, like you don't see them there.
No.
And so I like that. I mean, Kepka does it, Rom does it, Spieth does it, Justin does it. I mean, even um, Scotty Scheffler does it, even though he couldn't make a putt within 6 feet.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, we all deal with our struggles. We all have, those moments where you're trying to really, make a shot come to fruition.
Right.
And it's tough. I get it. You're competing for millions of dollars, but come on,
Hmm.
Patrick. You don't need to like stomp your feet into the ground 3 times,
Oh my god! No,
four
it's like
times
it
each
was like
foot.
6 or 7 times, man. It was like one set, one, two sets,
Yeah.
2 sets. It's like, what are we doing here, man? Just
The
take
thing
the
that was
shot.
annoying me the most was like the waggle,
Yep.
like the
Yep.
steps. Look, the waggle, the steps. Look, waggle, steps. Like, look, like that's way too much. It like at this point, if you're already standing behind the ball, you see your
Hmm.
line, just
Yeah.
like Jason Day. Like Jason Day, like closes his eyes, walks into it. Once
Uh
he's
huh.
set, he takes one more look and just whack. He goes. He goes. He goes to
The
work. It's
longer
like,
you think about it, in my opinion, the more of a chance that you're going to have to mess up your shot. And I mean, if I feel like he does it on both, where the drives and he also does it on the putting.
yeah,
And in my opinion, for putting, it's not as big of a deal. I mean, it is more of a big deal because one, you're walking on that technically every time you pat, pat,
yeah,
pat, 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 and the ground is so soft that there's no reason to keep moving your feet. Like
no,
there's no, I mean, I can somewhat understand it for a drive, not as much as he does it, but to an extent that hey, you're going to be whipping, you're taking a whip, basically, and you got to make sure your feet are having good traction or whatever. But you're also playing at the nicest country clubs in the country or world,
yeah,
so it's not like you're going to be like standing on another divot that somebody
yeah.
else just shot from. So I would definitely get extremely irritated. He's like Kevin Knott to the extreme.
I mean, I don't even think Kevin was like that bad,
Not that bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it
Yeah, he
was it
makes
was
Kevin
it was
Knott look
tolerable.
real quick.
It does. I mean, I just again like to you made a statement about, shot clocks. Like, look, if we're realizing anything right now, like having time clocks on pace of games really isn't doing much. Like we can go into baseball, right?
Hmm.
The mound visit clocks, the pitching clocks,
Hmm.
it's not really doing anything. Like you're jacking up prices on seats to
Hmm.
where games are now finishing under 2 hours. Like
Hmm.
through a 3 game series between the Boston Red Sox and the Los Angeles Angels, each game finished within an hour and 30 minutes. An hour and
Jeez.
30 minutes,
And you're
and
paying
for
normally for that 3 hour time frame to get
yeah,
away, to not think of anything, get away from your struggles.
exactly. It's like
And
what is the point in speeding up a game? And speeding up the game. Like if people love it, they're gonna want to be there more. And I get
hmm.
it. Like all these board members and executives are thinking like, oh yeah, well the games are taking too long. People are saying that it's boring. Well, then they're not there for the right reasons. And if it
Hmm.
is the
Hmm.
fan
Hmm.
base that you're
Hmm.
trying to please, like do things that are like fan
Centered.
inclusive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like maybe excuse me, maybe do more like giveaways where somebody's shooting the shirt.
Yeah. Right.
Do like what the Atlanta Braves do where you got to race the freeze, like
Hmm.
I don't know, do things that are more inclusive to where it creates that fun environment for people to go and
Yeah.
have fun, right? Like hiring up seats, sure, getting more beer until the 8th inning, that's great and all, but dude, honestly, like people still have to drive home at the end of the day,
Right. You can't get
like
Ubers. I've tried getting an Uber at Dodger
yeah.
Stadium, and it was impossible.
Well, Dodger
So
Stadium is a whole nother story, but
right.
yeah,
But I mean, like, regardless, you have like those peak times, right? Is that what they consider them for, like Uber or like Lyft, where if you're in like a certain area where there's a lot of traffic,
yeah,
that like they pay like triple the amount. So it's like
yeah,
you're paying $40 for a beer and you're taking like $100 just to get home because you're too drunk. It's like,
yeah.
is it? And then plus what, like $200 for a ticket, maybe 50 to 100, unless you go to an Oakland A's game. You're gonna be paying
Well,
a
let's
crap
let's
load of
let's
money.
take let's just take the Giants for an example, okay? Like bleacher seats are now $75 a piece.
And they
Okay,
play 81 games there. 81 games.
yeah, 81 games. So they're $75 a piece for bleacher seats, which are not. I mean, I firmly believe that there's not a bad seat in the Giants stadium,
Per se. I mean, yeah. I
but
mean, you're the farthest away from the action, of course,
yeah, well, the bleachers
compared to
aren't
other
even too
seats.
bad. Yeah,
Right? No, no,
compared to
yeah,
others.
but yeah.
But again, $75 for that. Let's just say you drive. Okay,
Hmm.
parking in San Francisco around the stadium is on average probably like $80 for the whole thing.
What?
Yeah, it's about $80. Now you go and you're paying $17 for a domestic beer. If you get something that's imported, you're paying $22 for it. You got food that's at $12, twelve
Base.
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, base. I mean, depending on where you're seating, obviously you can get like, the crab sandwich, which is $20, all these different things, right? Like, you have all this stuff, and if you're constantly bringing in all that, all that food and everything, let's just say you get a souvenir, like, so you
Hmm.
get a jerseys, the on-field jerseys there are $250. Like, dude, you're talking about already spending $1,000 in just an hour.
Yeah, and there's no way you're going to be able to
And
do
if you
that
have
for
a
multiple
family,
games.
and if
Yeah.
you have a family with you, oh my
Mm-mm.
god! Like,
Yeah, no
the
way,
kids
dude.
alone, Oh, can I have
Cotton
cotton
candy.
candy? Can I
Yep.
have Cracker Jacks? Can I get a deck of baseball cards? Can I do this? And it's like, that's just so much. Like, you guys, I mean, these games are already cash cows already. Like,
And they're already making
you
money off
know,
of their TV deals
they're
and
making
streaming
hand
deals.
over
So
fist, hand
so
over fist.
and they're owned by billionaires or trillionaires, so it's not even like the money is needed
Yeah,
necessarily to
yeah.
that extent. But
It's
I
just
mean, I
greedy at this
agree.
point.
It
It's just
extremely
greedy
is.
at this point.
100%.
For an
100%.
hour, for a 3 game series where each game finished within an hour and 30 minutes, that's just greed. Like, I'm
I'm
sorry.
not gonna. There's nowhere else I'm gonna pay that much money for an hour and a half doing anything. There's
No.
nowhere else.
I
Not
mean,
even a golf course.
even basketball isn't even that fast. Hockey's
Yeah.
not even that fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's sports out there that move much faster that you're still there for 2.5 hours. You
Mm-hmm. And
have,
at least
you
you're in a
have,
controlled environment too, where it's warm,
yeah,
or it's like you're not going to worry about rain or cold or
exactly.
wind or things like that. So, and you have a better seat also for basketball and hockey because it's closer.
Eh,
At least in my opinion, closer to the
yeah,
action.
yeah.
But
I mean, in the bowl seats for hockey, for basketball, for anything, it's still up there in cost. But
exactly, because they play less
I think
games
because, well,
and there's less seats.
I think because the stadiums or the arenas fit less people, it looks like you're
Yep.
really right on top of the
Yeah.
the entertainment. But for baseball, I mean, you're sitting up in the nosebleeds. The nosebleeds are still, what, 65 to 70 $75 based on who they're playing for. I mean, when the Dodgers came to town, like,
They pump them
tickets were,
up.
were over 100, and then parking was a
Hmm.
hundred dollars, a
Yeah.
hundred dollars for an
Stupid, dude.
hour.
It's
Yeah, dude,
ridiculous.
it is. It's dumb, but I would hate to see a shot clock in golf. I
That
mean,
would ruin golf. I mean, I felt like baseball would never. I never thought that baseball would ever consider a shot clock. But to think that
and either.
golf would include one, if anything, just get a marshal there and be like, dude, you got to pick it up, or like pace of play, or like you're gonna get a stroke or two.
Well,
Like
just like in tournaments, right? Like, if you're the slower group for, like, just a regular qualifying, or a USGA tournament, or a local qualifier, whatever. Like, if you're the slow group, you will get penalized two strokes.
no way.
Like,
How many
yeah,
warnings do you get normally?
depends. Like, normally it's 2 warnings.
Okay,
Like, but if you're, eventually they'll just be like, hey, this team is being docked, or this group is being docked, two strokes.
dang.
So, my whole point to that is, like, golf already is it's a long event. Like,
Right.
on
Yes.
average,
Yes.
even when you're playing fast, if you play in 4 hours, it's like, holy smokes, we flew through that.
That is fast. It really is.
Yeah, it really
Like
is
throughout
fast.
the whole. Well, let me. I think what is it? 4 hours. Uh. Okay. Come on now. Seriously, not popping up. 4 hours times 60 was that 240 minutes divided by 18 holes. Averages out to about 13 and a half minutes a hole, which
Yeah,
doesn't seem that fast. But like even if you're in a cart, it surprisingly is.
yeah.
Especially when you take your shot, you have to drive over to your spot, and then if you have two or three shots before the green, if you have three shots, it's one thing, but if you have like four or five, it could easily add up. And I feel like 4.5 hours is a good medium, in my opinion, where you feel like, hey, you weren't rushed, you were able to play at a good pace, and I feel like once it gets past five, I'm just like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like,
I
what is
mean,
going on?
Yeah, 5 hours is ridiculous. I
On a
mean,
regular round, not like a tournament, not a tournament. I'm
yeah.
just talking about like on a regular weekend or something
Oh,
like that.
totally, totally. Yeah. I caught that. I agree. Five is ridiculous. I mean, if you can do 4.5, that's really not that bad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I played an entirely empty course today at Half Moon Bay, and we had the whole course to ourselves, and we still played in like 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Dang.
And my buddy had a couple blow up holes where we had to go searching for his ball. We had to like,
Happens. Yep. Right.
yeah,
Right.
we had to like go back and drop to where the ball exited, all this different stuff. Like we definitely played it by the rules, and it was still
Mm-hmm.
like shit. We mowed through that, but on a weekend, going to like River Park or going to Foxtail or going to Windsor Golf or
Oh,
wherever.
Riverside is packed every
Yeah,
day, man. It's
yeah.
insane.
It's like, dude, I don't want to be here for 5 hours. I just want to get in
Yeah.
some holes and be out. And the thing
Mm-hmm.
is too that like I think is another stupid rule, and I don't know if maybe it's just operations, but like if I come in telling you, dude, I just came off the front nine and I started at you know 1 o'clock. It's now 4. Like, give me my money back. Give me half of my money back. Give me the
Right.
nine hole cost, because that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Dang. Yeah.
speaking of tournaments, I had my men's club qualifier um, over at Foxdale Golf Course this Sunday, and 36 holes. I shot a solid 67 my first round.
And was this
Second
all in?
round,
Hold on, before you get in the second round, was this all in one day, or was this a
yeah,
Saturday and a Sunday
no,
event?
this was all in one day. So we
Okay.
started we
Okay.
started like the crack of dawn.
Oh, dang.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, but it was nice. There was like no wind in the morning. I think I was playing a little bit more aggressive, knowing that like, hey, the ball's it's a bit chillier. The ball's really
Mm-hmm.
not going to go anywhere. Clubbed up and
Right. Yep.
hit some good shots where I was hitting middle of the green. It skipped because there was water on there, and it just settled, and good shots just came from it. Second round, the wind kind of came in, and still hitting great drives, but like according to my Arcos, it was like I I was I was missing a lot of my second shots in. Like I missed a lot of greens, and I think because I was trying to like finesse shots where I was trying to hit little draw, little cut against the wind, like knock it down, roll it up, instead of just taking my normal shot and letting it do its thing. Um, so I think that was what hurt me there, because I left myself in a lot of dead zones, but I went 67, 83, and
Hmm.
it was just brutal, but I had fun. I mean,
Where'd you end
shit
up out of
happens.
the 32 people that were playing?
I
Where'd you end up?
I think I was like 19th. So some people had worse days, but also too is like they had me playing as a +4 from the Blues, and just in my first round, I went eagle birdie birdie, and I was even now essentially to my handicap. I was even at hole 4.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Did you have a
So
caddy for that, or was it just you
no, no,
on
no,
your own?
just me,
Okay.
just me.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Carts? Did it allow carts on that as well?
yeah. They did.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Okay.
had to. These guys play slow, very very slow.
Oh, really?
I was that guy that was like driving ahead, made sure that my cart was like out of that person's way completely. And then I like got my rangefinder, found my shot, stood by my ball, and just once they hit, I just was like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, man, you played quick. I'm like, I mean, what are we standing around here for? Like the other group's already on the other hole. Like,
Right.
we're just gonna sit here and have a bonfire and sing kumbaya together or
Kumbaya.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, like let's get
did
fucking
Did you
moving.
play the north and the south course, or just one or the
just
other?
just the north. The north is
Just north.
the yeah.
The
The north is
72.
the tournament is yeah. That's the
Okay.
that's the tournament course. That
Okay.
one's that was really nice. It's a beautiful track. I mean, they do a good job of taking care of it. Um, it's a very 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 well manicured course for the area that we're in, for sure.
Mm,
Yeah,
nice, dude.
yeah.
That's awesome. Did you have to pay anything for the entry fee? Or was there an entry fee, and could you have won any money if you were to do better?
Yeah,
Like
so there
what's
so
like the
there
reward?
yeah, so there was a skin scam that was going on within it, like, but the overall payout, if I would have like came in first place would have been like $1,500. Second place would
Okay.
have been, uh, I think 1,000, and then the last one would have been 500.
Okay. Okay.
So everybody put in $100, $100 each, and that covered your entry, your skins, your closest to the pins, um, and the matches. So
Gotcha.
yeah, but I mean, my first round, I won like almost $500 in skins, but you know, other than that, I didn't take any of the prize money home. I just won money in skins.
That's not too bad. That's not too
No,
bad.
no, it wasn't. So it was good.
Yeah.
But you know, I I I don't know. I'm starting to kind of actually really like the Arcos, but then I feel like there's just so much data on it that it's like I'm thinking too much now on like so many shots.
But
Like
have you noticed a good thing in your scores or a difference at all? Like, has
it's
that
stuff
data
that
benefited you?
yes and no. Like
Okay. Yeah.
it's kind of things that like when we I'm sorry, I forgot the guy's name.
Lou Stagner.
Lou. So when we spoke to Lou, it was kind of like I had it was like what I already had said in the call, which was, hey, like I know that I'm missing on my second shots, and it's only
Right.
because I'm so close to the green within the majority of par fours.
Hmm.
Um, I have 100 yards, 80 yards in, and I try and like finesse a club, right? Just trying to
Okay.
find
Yeah.
middle of
Yeah.
the green, and then I end up like getting too handsy with it to where I pull it or I catch a little fat and it comes up short.
Hmm.
Instead of just hit your freaking shot. Like, don't
Yeah.
try and do all this fancy stuff. Just get yourself on the green and make a putt.
Yep.
And that's basically what it's showing me is that when it comes that time to it, that's where I'm messing up. Is like I'm trying to do a little too much. But my putts are one, two putts. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have very many threes. Where I get
Hmm.
like double bogeys and triples is if I fly a green, leave myself on a short side, have
Uh
to hit
huh.
a finesse flop, end up catching it
Yeah.
short,
Hmm.
all these
Yeah.
different things.
Well, I mean, like speaking of Lou, since you did just bring him up, especially with Arcos, I looked at one of his most recent newsletters that he brought out, and it went over the fact of looking. I guess like during the Masters, there was like a lot of people that were looking into. There's one of the par fours that's like you can get there short, just short of the green is like a 350 par four at one. I think it's like hole 3 or hole like 12 or like 10. One of the ones that you can like almost reach. And it was like a lot of people try to either lay up where they gave themselves like 120 or some kind of a full wedge in. And then there were also people that, went in driver, try to get as close as they could, and then to have a short wedge in. And he said that people that, at least for Arcos, not through the Masters, but just through Arcos, that had a short par four, excuse me, from about like 320 to like 360 yards, that used driver and got to within about 50 to 60 yards, had a higher conversion rate of birdie to par compared to people that tried to use like a 2 iron, a 3 iron,
Yeah,
4 iron,
try to lay
and give
back.
themselves a full wedge. And it was really interesting to see that because I
Yeah,
know there are a lot of people that kind of want to go like the conservative route and give themselves a full swing wedge. Obviously, it depends on the person. Some people might be more comfortable with an iron compared to a driver to get themselves in the fairway, give themselves an easier shot. But I thought that was really interesting, and I'm going to try doing this in the future. Is just trying to, if there are any short par fours, no matter what, or not short but short-ish, get as close as I can. Give myself a half shot wedge or a quarter shot wedge in, and just try and give myself a two putt for at least par. A birdie would be great. Obviously, that's the plan. But I thought it was really interesting when he brought that up in his newsletter, especially because I believe a lot of people were kind of going over the stats from the Masters. But glad to hear that you won some money. Sorry you didn't do as well as you wanted to, but I was able to finally get a round in my birthday round that I waited about a month for at Eagle Springs, and beautiful day. It was probably like mid 60s. Sun was out, not too windy. It was. I'll probably post a video in the bio for everyone to take a look at. It was a beautiful day. I recorded every single shot, shot chaser, and my little feedback on every little shot as well. Um, I was extremely inconsistent on my driver, like in the sense that like I didn't know where it was going, whether it was going to be a fade, whether it was going to be a draw, whether it was going to go straight. and somehow I think I went like 7 for 14 on fairways. Fortunately the fairways aren't too narrow, and I think I had about 9 green irregulations, about half of the green irregulations. No birdies, unfortunately. 0 for 9. New putter, a couple what is it? A couple three
Three
putts,
putts.
which I honestly, it's so rare for me to do that. And I'm not saying that as like I'm tooting my own horn, but like I'm usually pretty good at my distance control. That's really what it came down to. And with this new mallet, which I'm still getting used to, my new Scotty Cameron Phantom 5.5, like it just swings so much differently than a blade. And I've never hit a mallet in my life as much as I've wanted to. Never have done it. I practiced for about maybe 20 minutes at their green. Thought I had everything ready to go, and it was a combination of contradicting myself when I'd read the putt and then get up to the putt and be like, I don't know if it's reading that way or not.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Beautiful day, had a good round. Definitely check out the video. But I mean, man, I miss golf, man. It's so much fun. It's so much fun getting when you're able to get out there, especially on a great day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the day looked beautiful from some of the videos you sent me.
Hmm.
But let me ask you this: what is and everyone, please feel free to drop in the comments like what you think as well. But what is the most annoying thing for you when you go play golf?
So I will go first off of the course, things that annoy me on the course, and then I'll go with things that annoy me with people that you play with or people that are around you, in front of you, behind you, and things like that. Because I feel like they're definitely two different aspects. So on the course, things that annoy me are aerated greens, bumpy greens, ones that are either still figuring it out or just still healing and aren't
Yeah.
completely healed yet.
Yeah.
It makes your putts bumpy. Uh, and then besides that, on the course, what really also irritates me is tee boxes that are just so torn up, where there's like not an area to hit, where your feet are not uneven because you're either standing on another, divot or something like that. Um, Besides that, when playing with people when there's no money on the line, you're just playing, right? You just met up, you just got paired up with somebody, and they're being too etiquette. They're doing too much etiquette, where it's like, hey, oh, I'm gonna wait for you to take your shot. It's like, dude, you take 7 shots to get to a short par four. Hit when you can.
Yeah.
Just make sure that
Ready
I'm watching
golf.
you. Ready golf is my thing. I'm always ready golf. I've never been in a skins match. If I ever do, it might change, but I mean, like, still, play ready golf. If you're ready, you're not gonna get hit. You're not gonna throw anybody off. Take your shot, so we're not waiting all day. If there is a couple groups that are in front of us that we still have to wait for, I mean, then it's different, right? Then it's like, okay, then there's no rush. We play to make sure that we're not hitting at their feet and things like that. But also getting stuck behind a group where that I'm all for having fun on a golf course, but when they're having too much fun, they're taking like Patrick Cantlay in between each shot. They're taking 30 shots, and I'm like, dude, like I'm not the kind of like when I played on Thursday, the amount of times that I got asked from the group ahead of me, like, hey, if you want to play through, go for it. And they're playing a good pace. And he was like, one of the guys was like, hey, you can play up and you can move ahead of us if you want, but like, there's nowhere really for you to go because we're
Yeah.
waiting. And I'm like, well, there's no point for me to go anywhere. Like, I
Yeah.
appreciate it, but like, you guys are playing good pace. I was behind a foursome. I was a single behind a foursome, and I was fine. I was having enough time to set up my tripod, set up everything, get it ready to go. Didn't feel like I was getting rushed for the people behind me. But I think those are definitely my biggest pet peeves. And then also when you are playing and you have that group or two that just literally is playing speed golf, that's passing everybody. You're like, dude, what do you? That cannot be fun. This isn't like PGA Tour 2K where like you can get
Yeah.
around it in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like. You're gonna speed up. You're gonna rush yourself. You're gonna hit a bad shot, and then you're gonna take even more time for other people. Like, I don't know. What about you? What are some of your pet peeves on the course?
Well, man, that was an essay of things that
I can
that
go all. I'm not even done. That's
yeah.
just through the introduction. I didn't get through the meat of it yet.
Well, for me, I think the biggest one is, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful because I understand we all have things that we have to do before we go places, and us as dads, obviously we want to make sure like, hey, babe, you got everything? Like I'm about to go. I gotta go.
Right.
And so my biggest thing is the guy who shows up to the tee right on time. No swings, right? He's like, oh, where are you playing from? Where are you playing from? Oh, okay. Oh, you're gonna play the tips? Okay, I will too. And it's very rare that like all of a sudden you get a guy who just pulls up and rips one down the middle of the fairway,
You
right?
can't
And
handle the tips.
yeah, exactly. I think that's one. The second one would be more around the etiquette of like someone or a group ahead of you, they're in the bunker, guy hits a shot out or he's hacking at it, can't get the ball out, doesn't even rake the bunker.
Ooh, yes.
That's
Yes.
one that gets me. Um the other is also an etiquette thing, which is that if you hit the green, fix your tee or fix your pitch, fix your
Your
marks,
mark. Yep.
your bar mark.
That was going to be my other one. I could have
And
gone into that one too. Yeah.
and that one kind of gets under my skin a little bit because then it's like, it's like, dude, you don't know the simplest thing. Like, fix it. It's good. It's
Hmm.
good juju. The golf god's like, hey, you
If
taking care of the
you can't
course?
find yours, find
Yeah,
someone else's, kind of a thing.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, and the last one, I would have to say either I like to call him the good guy. Like the dude who it's like, you just hit a great shot. He knows you won the hole, right? And he's like 5, 6 feet away, and he's like, "Well,
That's
you
good, right?
won. Yeah, you won. So is this good?" I'm like, "No. Like I'm not going to give you a 6 foot putt. You know, like finish it out. you know."
Half of the PGA Tour misses those, bro. Come on.
Yeah, and then what's funny is like there's one guy in particular that
That you're thinking of.
oh dude, I know this guy because he's always wanted to play for money. He always wants to play stroke. He always wants to play stroke play. And every time, if I win the hole, if I get a birdie and he's like putting for, he's laying four already going for a bogey, he's like, is that good? And I'm like, no,
We're playing for
because
strokes, bro.
yeah, yeah, like you, I'm already giving you, 3 shots aside. Like the next hole you get a stroke on. Like, no, I'm not doing that because I could F up and all of a sudden you make it. Like,
Hmm.
no. And so that's the one. Those are the things that get to me. But
Hmm.
um, other than that, I would have to say the next one. I have to say the next one would probably be speed golfers.
Yeah.
The guys who also just are like, "Yep, that one's good. All right, let's go to the next," and then they're pushing on you.
Dude, do
But
you
I,
remember that when we played at Rancho Solano? Do you remember that when we
oh
were
yeah,
playing
yeah,
Rancho
yeah,
Solano last
yeah.
year, and we were making great pace with a foursome, in my opinion.
We
Like
played
I
in
think
4 hours.
I shot an 80, you shot somewhere like in like the low 70s or whatever, and like
Yeah,
our two guys that we grouped up with played decently. And one guy honestly didn't even really, I didn't even think he had golf shoes, but he like held his own.
yeah,
And like we got asked by you, we got asked by the marshal like once or twice to speed it up because there was like a group of 4 70-year-old men that somehow were at our heels. I
yeah.
was like, "There's no way.
Yeah,
Like they're only playing two guys a hole. There's no way all
yeah,
four are playing every single hole."
yeah. No, and I remember that because that was where I like told the marshal like, quit asking us, where are we going to go? There's a group ahead of us that we're pushing on. Like, tell that group,
Hmm.
And then when he came by on that next the par four that was like the dog leg right along the hillside, he came by again. And I said, dude, you ask us again, like I'm not going to be very kind about it. Like we're playing in exactly 4.5 hour or 4 hour time and we're pushing on the other group ahead of us. Like we're doing something right, man. Like go
Hmm.
talk to somebody else. But
Right.
but when I mean like the speed golfer, I mean like they're constantly just trying to get through, or the guy who doesn't even ask and just drives on through, and then just
Oh
like
my
as he's
gosh.
passing by, he's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna play through. I'm just gonna play through. Going to the next hole." Like what? Get out of here, bro.
The amount of people that do that, I'm like, dude, you're paying for a round for 18 holes, and you only want to play 17 or maybe 15, depending on how many times they
Yeah.
do that. Like, what are you gonna put down a par on your scorecard? Like, if I would have tried, I would have parred this hole.
So
Like those. Ugh.
so my I yeah, I guess my neighbor, he has a golf cart. He drives down the course all the time.
Oh dang.
When I was working there as just like as a starter, just because I wanted to get free rounds and stuff. Um, he would pull up, would just go, and I'd be like, "Hey, there's a foursome that's on the green." But yeah, I'm just gonna hit my shots, and then I'll just pick it up and go through. And then he'd come back around, like he would just burn through the course, and whatever holes he didn't finish out, he'd go back and play.
Interesting.
And I'm like, "What's the point? Like, what is the point? Why do that?
Right.
Like if you have that extra time to go back around, play these holes, what's the point? Just wait. Play it, put on some good tunes, put on a good podcast, like Four
Right.
Dads,
Hit up Fore dads all the time. Right. Exactly. Man,
Yeah.
that's weird, man. I mean, great question. Let's move on to the RBC Heritage before we wrap up. I mean, what an excellent tournament after the Masters. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched too much of it. Obviously, Matt Fitzpatrick won I think his first official PGA tournament besides, of course, the U.S. Open. Like an
Yeah.
actual regular tournament.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess people were chanting USA for Jordan Spieth during the close.
Yeah.
And I mean, Matt Fitzpatrick just seems like the nicest kid, like just like so proper, just such a nice kid. I don't know if I talked to you last week about it, but one of my old high school, I don't know if you consider him a teammate that I grew up with. He was a year older than me. He went to my high school. He only played soccer and baseball. Those were like his two sports, so I knew him through baseball. And he is the assistant PGA pro at Harbortown. And I was like, dude, did you get to meet Matt Fitzpatrick? He's like, yeah, I got to shake his hand. He was a nice kid, probably one of the nicest guys I ever met. And it was the most random thing ever when I found out that he worked there, because I'm like, you golf? Like, you played soccer and like baseball. Like, baseball, I can understand. A lot of ex baseball players play it, but like soccer players? And I had no idea. But especially being at Harbortown, which is like such a prestigious golf course in South Carolina, that like,
Mhm.
how did you get that gig? Like how'd you get signed up for that? But I thought it was an excellent tournament. I think they finished up with extremely low scores, and I think Patrick Cantley even got a hole in one, and people were like, "Well, there's a way to speed up play. Just get a
Yeah.
hole in one every time." It's
Yeah. I think the biggest highlight for all the fans was John Rahm commentating
I
Patrick
didn't hear
Cantlay.
that. I saw him, but how was it? Did you hear it?
It
How
was
was it?
it was it was pretty funny. I mean, John Rahm is a professional amongst professionals, and he really didn't like throw any low shots, but it was funny how he called it out that like he was like he goes, "All right, well, he's it looks like he's looking at it, but he's like there's something missing. Like I think he's gonna walk it out." And then Patrick Cantley like walks it out after hitting or
Kind of like a
after
Tony Romo in the NFL.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
ready for this play. It's gonna happen. Look for this guy over the middle.
Yep. And then he like it was kind of ridiculous but hilarious at the same time because Patrick's over there like hitting, doing his little tempo swing for how he wants to hit this chip shot. He steps back, looks at it, looks at the ball, addresses it, picks his head up one more time, looks back down, does his little foot thing, and then all of a sudden he just walks it out.
I saw that. I
And it
saw.
was like, what changed? Was there an earthquake? What changed that all of a sudden like you missed one part? And you could see it like even from the television, you could see like he had to hit it high side of the rough because the downslope came down and just let it come on down. And it was like, that's just ridiculous. But I think the most heartbreaking part was Jordan's putt. The
Mm.
fact that it didn't drop to win it was just like
Right. I mean, like, to both people
heart
that were
wrenching.
involved, Matt Fitzpatrick and Jordan Spieth, I feel like they're just such genuine people, especially for Jordan Spieth. Like, everyone loves Jordan Spieth. He's just a good kid, has good history, with just being nice to kids, being nice to the fans, a fan favorite. And it's just crazy also when you see how short Matt Fitzpatrick is. Like, when he's
Yeah.
like shaking
And
hands with
dude, for
everybody, it's
him,
like,
the speed he has is
yes,
unreal. I
he's
didn't
got a
really
whip, man.
he does. You can hear it when he takes the putter away, and then and then when he smashes the ball, it's a different sound. I'm like,
Yeah.
but apparently, like this, I mean, this kid's workout routine is like what we used to do for baseball.
Mm,
He does everything from like the resistant box jumps to, um, toe touches to build the speed. I mean, he does power cleans. He does
dang.
deadlifts. He does like the what were they, the bear crawls. Like he does all that stuff, and he's apparently like a pretty good runner.
Well, I would assume him being a short and thin kid that he could run pretty dang well. I mean, I was always thin, but I could never run. I was like the one person where you'd look at me like, you look like you can run some long distance. I'd be like, yeah, I may surprise you. I'm probably the worst long distance runner that you could pick out of this group of baseball players
Yeah.
every single year.
It's pretty funny. Like now that you mentioned that, like I was never a really good runner. I you know I was the worst runner, but it's like this kid that and him, this kid that I grew up playing baseball with, Brandon Pizzo.
Mhm.
Um, Slowest guy around the bases, slowest guy around the bases. But man, could that kid run a marathon like it was no one's business. I mean,
Ugh.
in Fresno, we used to get ran. Like, I mean, I'm talking 2 miles, a mile. Like, we used to get ran, sprints, everything.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
he was always the dude who stood alone ahead of everybody. Everybody. And
It's always so
I mean,
envious of those people, man. I'm like, how do you do this?
he had a freaking iron lung, man. The kid had a literally iron lungs. He could just breathe for days. And it's like we're all over here freaking wheezing, like Cox is dying in the back. Freaking Lloyd's over there yelling at him like, let's go!" And here comes Brandon lapping us like, "Let's pick it up, come on, guys!" Like
Uh,
not even huffing and puffing,
Dude, I still remember
just
at my
going.
community college, the pitchers had to run a mile, and we literally ran in our baseball pants a mile around the track, and I was 9 out of 10 or 9 out of like 11, and I ran a 6 minute 45 second mile. I was like, that was the fastest mile I've ever ran in my life. Like,
Yeah,
and I was like
I
almost dead last. It's just insane.
yeah I only ran a 6 minute or a 6 minute and 30 minute or 30-second mile once, and I almost puked my brains out.
I know, right? I drank like so much water. I laid down. I passed out. Like it was just like
Yeah.
never again.
So
Uh,
since we're still on the RBC, did you hear about Rory's fine?
Tell me about it. I heard a little bit that he fell out, so it was either PIP or whatever that he get lost like
Yeah.
3 million or something.
Play
If you
player
know more
impact
about it,
the player impact program. So RBC is one of his direct sponsors. So it's
Uh,
the player impact program. So obviously him being there, it impacts the tournament.
mhm.
So for him withdrawing, he was reportedly fined $3 million for not being there.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's
And what was the reason? Was it just because he did bad in the Masters and he didn't want to play again
I
for the
didn't I
moment,
didn't
or
hear what it was, but I'm assuming that's probably what it was. He was trying to figure out something in his golf swing, and
did he lose the sponsorship? Because I heard
no,
he
no,
lost
no.
maybe more than like 3 million, not like based off of like sponsors or other things that
Yeah,
like
so
came
they're
about.
saying, yeah, so they're saying here, like in CBS Sports, like in total, it looked like it may have been somewhere around the value of like $12 million that he may have lost just in that weekend. But the fine for the impact program
Sponsor,
is,
yeah.
yeah, is what hurt him, or is what got the most attention.
Wow.
But in other news, did you hear about our boy Tiger?
Just got surgery, right? For
He had
his
he had
ankle.
another yeah he had another fusion surgery on his ankle.
My gosh, man. That guy is becoming a bionic man soon. I mean, I would love for him to win at least one more major, but I was actually doing some research. I looked up that now that you're talking about Tiger. I did see that. I heard it was a successful surgery, which is great
Yeah.
news. Always great to hear a successful surgery. But comparing Tiger Woods to Jack Nicklaus, obviously, is like what people do, right, to figure out who's the GOAT, who's the one that is the better golfer all around. And I did some digging on obviously how many majors Tigers won, how many majors Jack's won. Jack's won
Mhm.
18, Tigers won 15. That's no secret.
Yeah.
But the amount of majors they've played in is completely insane. Tiger has played in 87 majors. He's won 15. Jack had played in 164 and only won 18. So you break that down. I obviously use a calculator. I was a history major in college, but that comes out to about Tiger winning about 17.2% of his majors, while Jack only won close to 11% at like 10.9. And so if you give Tiger that many opportunities, at least like the amount that Jack had at 164, based off of that percentage, that would put Tiger around 28 majors won,
Mhm.
which obviously it might be a little less than that, but that's just based off of a statistic. And I just thought that was insane that like that's one of the big factors that you got to put in. It's not the total majors, it's how many that they've been in and how many that they've won, at least in my opinion. Because
Yeah.
like we talk about Kobe Bryant, we talk about LeBron James, we talk about Michael Jordan, who's 6-0 and championships, NBA Finals. LeBron James is what, like 4-9, maybe 4-12, you know. But you don't really talk about the losses, but that is really a big factor in like how many opportunities did you have and how many did you win? Like what is Tom Brady, like 6-0, or no, maybe not 6-0, like 6-9 or 6-10 in Super Bowls.
Mhm.
No one talks about the losses, but that's definitely a thing where it's like if you have more opportunities, you're going to give yourself a better chance to have a higher number. And I feel like that is an incredible stat that probably goes overlooked a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah. Since we're on the discussion of the GOAT, I mean, numbers wise, we know Jack, definitely holds his own.
Hmm.
But do you really think that Tiger's the GOAT?
I personally do.
How
and
so?
and so and so for my goat, what I consider a goat is not just the longevity of their career. It can't be someone that just had like a lightning in a barrel, 1 year and they just killed it. Like they had to be consistent. And Tiger has been, I think he had one dominant time from was like 90, 97, and like 2003 or 2005 or whatever. He really just
2005.
absolutely
Yeah.
murdered it. And before like kind of trailing off with injuries, with, drama and all this stuff that kind of threw him off. But obviously he's who I saw. I never personally saw Jack Nicklaus, just like people that have never really seen Michael Jordan play, but they're claiming that he's the GOAT over LeBron James, who they've seen. Like it's hard to compare it in that retrospect, in my opinion. But especially compared to the type of golfers that Tiger played against compared to Jack Nicklaus. Same thing with like Michael Jordan compared to LeBron James, like the amount of training, the amount of things that go into it that are so much more. I feel like the players, like you talk about Babe Ruth back in like 1905, you're telling me that he would hit 61 home runs against like Max Scherzer every week? There's no chance,
No
especially facing
chance.
like four pitchers in a game. Like there's no way that he's going to have that many home runs or be that successful. Guys throwing maybe 80 to 85 miles an hour in the pros compared to guys throwing mid 90s at like the low. Like it obviously it's not that big of a gap, but I mean I would take Tiger because he was extremely successful in a more difficult time when there was a higher pinnacle of players, in my opinion. But I mean, like, what about you? Who would you say?
I think it's Tiger all day.
Yeah.
Um, Reason is yes, he had a crazy stretch of dominance from 97 to 2005, right? Where it was like, dude just showed up and he was the only guy on the course. Everyone else was just there just to
To watch
basically
his,
well,
yeah.
no, just to donate. Just to donate. Like,
Donate
here
to
you
the
go. Just
purse,
just take my money, you
right?
know? But also I think his in not I think I know his impact
On the game,
on the game
unmatched.
yeah, there is no one that will ever
Hmm.
impact the game, or just impact the game the way that it has. I mean,
Hmm.
all these golfers that we're seeing come up, they're still watching Tiger play, even though it may not be his best. But it's like you look at Tiger on Google and you see the dominance, you see the the killer instinct
Mm-hmm.
of Tiger and what he did. So
Yep.
that's where, like, going back to one of our older podcasts where we talked about how Netflix, the narrator was like, you know, Colin Morikawa shows, young, or shows a potential of like
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Woods. I'm like, I literally wanted to like be like, whoever you are, shut the F up. You're
Mm-hmm.
stupid. You are so dumb. How could you think that a guy like him is ever going to even amount to half of the effect of
Yeah.
what Tiger brought? Like,
Right.
no, nobody will ever know that. And the person who puts it into reality of like the Tiger effect and
Mm-hmm.
who knows it best is Phil, and also Rory. When Rory and
Yeah.
him were walking down, we're walking down. I forget what tournament it was where they were
The
paired up
Riv.
together. Yeah, the
The
Riviera,
Riv,
and
maybe.
yeah, and even Rory was like, "I've never experienced this. Like, I've never seen a crowd this big where everybody on the course wanted to follow the man in red."
Yep.
There's never been another player who went through a surgery and everyone decided to wear red that day, red and
Right.
black. There's
How
never.
many players have played on a broken leg and won a major?
Yeah, yeah,
Like that just
exactly.
does not happen. Like, yeah, I beat you guys on a broken leg,
Hmm.
and with a sport that you use that leg, and it's extremely painful on every swing. And you don't swing twice; you swing like what 260 times.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, maybe not swinging, but you might have some putts that are different. But about 200 times
Well,
around, like
just to carry your own weight, just to
yeah,
carry your own weight,
you're not
all
on
the
a cart. You're
walking.
not sitting.
Yeah,
Yep, the hills, the undulations, and all that. Like it's just
yeah. You
insane.
don't get the John Daly trolley. No
Mm-mm.
way.
And even Tiger himself is like, hey, even if I was offered it, like I wouldn't do it because that's part of the game is
Yep,
walking the course, and
yep,
that's part of it. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's the goat, hands down. I think Jack Nicklaus obviously was number easily number two in my opinion. There ain't no questions about it. But I think if they were to go head to head at the pinnacles, I would take Tiger, and I would assume almost everybody would, at least in my generation, in our generation. But it would be an extremely awesome match to see. We will never see it, which sucks, but I feel like it would be awesome. But I feel like that's a good spot to end this podcast. But before I do, definitely want to let people know. Obviously, we do got our Fore Dad rope hats available. If you guys are interested, hit us up. We are selling those, and also on TikTok. We just hit 300 followers. Julio is heading that page and killing it so far. We got about 30, 32 followers on our YouTube, where I also post our videos and stuff like that. Seems to be a lot harder to get some traction on there, but definitely want to follow that in case you miss a podcast or you're not able to listen via Spotify. And just want to thank everyone for all your guys' support and everything. And we will be back next week with what's the tournament this week? Do you recall? What's the tournament?
I don't. Let me check. Let me check right now.
Let's see here.
Is
The Mexico champion. Oh, okay. So if the Mexico championship is coming up,
Yeah, it's
that is the one I
the
think that Victor Hovland has
Search
killed.
Classic. Yeah, the
I think
Search Classic.
so.
Yeah,
And we didn't
no,
even touch on it, but we'll talk about it next week. Live in Australia. It seems to be taken off, man.
It's the Search Classic of
Oh,
New Orleans.
Zurich.
Yeah,
Okay, you're right. You're
Zurich's.
right. Yeah, the group tournament, the only
Yeah,
one where you team up with somebody. That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
Um, but we can talk about that next week. We'll also talk about Live and how well they did in Australia playing down under. Apparently, they already sold out all their tickets. They're trying to
yep.
recreate, like we talked one of our previous podcasts about their 12th par three hole. They're trying to do the next Waste Management Open 16th Cathedral. It's got
Hmm.
to start somewhere. It's not going to be as crazy, obviously, but it'd still be interesting to see how it is and how it works. But just want to say thank everybody for the support. And again, if you haven't checked out Upside Golf, right? UpsideGolf.com.
Hmm.
Four dads. Use the checkout code Four Dads for 20% off. Not 10, not 5, not free shipping, 20% off. And honestly, that's a really good chunk of change that you could be saving,
Yeah.
especially if you're going for a rangefinder, one of their thunder sticks, some of their apparel.
Hmm.
We had Patty O'Shea on a few weeks ago, and he was extremely gracious to just throw that upon us and make that an opportunity.
Yep.
So definitely want to check them out. He was the first guy ever to put a magnet on a rangefinder, and thanks to
Yep.
him, Bushnell,
Yeah.
Loophole. Everyone's starting to do it now. So
Yep.
definitely want to check that out. Again, upsidegolf.com. Use the promo code
For dads.
for 20% off. Not 10, not 5. Definitely want to check it out. But
Yep.
thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.